So hey guys, welcome back. Today we'll be learning about for loops in Python. A basic guide, a basic walkthrough, and a basic thing that you should know. So first of all, what's a for loop? According to the definition given on Programmer's online website, the for loop of Python is used to iterate over a sequence or other iteratable objects. Iterating over a sequence is called traversal. So basically, in plain English, this means that we have to perform several iterations or go through each item in a list of things that are given or stated by the user. The syntax for the for loop is for val in sequence loop body. Here, val is the variable that takes the value of items. In the previous lessons, I guess we discussed about variables. In this, we are studying about. In this, we will be using variables. Suppose if we have traverse, which we will see in forward programming examples, we have to traverse from a list of 1 to 15 numbers. We will take x as a variable that will be automatically signed by int, and this here will be the list in which we are going to traverse. The loop body will contain of several statements that the user wants to perform on the program. Here we have a flowchart of the for loop. That is, for whenever we create a for loop syntax, the program starts by saying for each item in sequence. It checks each and every item. Suppose it goes to the first item, it there is a decision bar where it decides if the last item is reached. Until the last item is reached, suppose if it was 15 and we are still on 14, this will point at no, and then we will go inside the body of for loop, that is the loop body, the statements we have typed in. And when the last item is reached, such as if we reach the last iteration, that is of 15 numbers, in 15 numbers iteration we reach the 15th item, this will point towards yes, that is exit the loop. So it will exit the for loop and then come out. Basically, it's an advanced form of if version, if and else statements, in which in if and else we check only one condition and can perform various statements. In for loop, we go through a list of statements or conditions, and then we have the advantage of performing various functions. So here's an example of for loop. Let me just put it here, copy it and put it out here live. So this program is to find the sum of all numbers stored in this list. So let's calculate it manually. 6 plus 5 11 plus 3 14 plus 8 22 plus 4 26 plus 2 28 plus 5 33 plus 4 37, and this is 48. So initially we have taken a list of numbers as this, which we calculated manually. The sum is coming out to be 48, and we have taken a variable of sum in which we will store the sum. Initially it's assigned as 0. We do not assign it as non-number such as in int, which we will discuss later. Or I can say that if we don't assign a number to the variable which we are going to store our result, then it would throw garbage value, or basically the address of the location. So here we take the for loop. This val is not pre-declined and it is declined selflessly. It defines itself according to the data type stored in this list. Val in numbers is the name of the list, and we calculate the sum. And when we print the sum and when we click run, the sum is found to be 48. So as we calculated, the sum was accurate manually and also according to the computer. So what's happening here is, let me tell you with comment statements. First, it takes val in numbers, it takes number 6. in sum. Then in the next statement we go sum is equals to sum plus val. Sum is initially 0, so 0 plus 6. Sum is equals to 6. Now when sum is equals to 6, now we will not care about this condition because now it is in the for loop. So next, no, val is equals to 5. So 5 and sum is equals to 6. So 6 plus 5, 11. And basically whole of the lists, all of the lists go through all these iterations, and we get the provided sum, that is 48. Let's have a look at some other examples here on this website W3 School. So here we have basically in this program, as we did it here, we iterated through integer data types. Now here we iterate through string data types. We iterate through string data types using a variable and the name of the list or the name of the things in which we want to iterate it, and then we print it. So let's see what it does. So we click the run button and it prints apple, bananas and cherries. Keep in mind, unlike other programming languages where we have to manually set that whether we have to print the values in the same line or the next line, Python automatically or by default prints it in the next lines. In the next example we have looping through a statement. Let's first put it in the engine, and then we should explain. So what's happening here is we now it's not a list, it's just a simple string. So the X is going through each and every character of the string and printing it. So this was an easy example. Let's have a look at the break statement. Break statement is basically out of the context for these Python for loops, but it's a small advantage to have a knowledge about it. So break statement, what actually it does is it breaks the statement whenever the condition inside anything, not only for loop but inside anything, becomes true. Such as in this, let's first calculate dry run manually in the list of fruits which contains apples, bananas and cherries. We are running a for loop which will go through each and every item of the list of fruits, that is apple, banana and cherry. We print first in this statement we print apple, banana and then cherry. But wait, we have to see also the statement that is included in the for loop. In this, it is said that if x is equals to banana, break the statement. So first we have to print it. So it prints apple. So according to my calculations, first it will print apple. Then it checks the condition, which will obviously be false. It moves on to next statement. Then it prints banana. And then when it checks a condition, and then when it checks a condition uh, when it checks the condition becomes true, and thus it breaks. That is, it comes out of this whole for loop. Let's have a actual run about it. See, as we predicted, apple and banana were printed, but as soon as the condition was held to be true, the condition broke. Similarly, we have different types of small statements such as continue, in which in break we broke the statement whenever the condition is false. In continue, we pass the statement, the next statements given in the for loop, and we print and we do the next iteration and continue the process. That is basically skipping that process. Now let's have a look at the range function. The range function is also basically it can generate a set of sequence of number using the function range. That is, if we print as range 10, we will generate numbers from 0 to 9. That is 10 numbers. Always remember, unlike humans, these non-living computer beings, they start counting from the number 0. So keep that in mind. If there are 10 ranges, it will not provide to be 1 to 10, but it will always print 0 to 9. That is 10 numbers or 10 iterations of that thing. It's a short version of for loop. Let me write a brief code. Suppose in for loop we print x in numbers, print x, and we define numbers as 1 2 3 4 5 6 8 9. So what will it do? Yes, we guess it right. It will print the numbers 1 to 9 as we stated. But in range function it will print range 9. Just a second. Oh, sorry, we will have to mention a word, that is list, so as the computer could make a list of the things first without printing range 9. So you see, and like we printed from 1 to 9, it prints from 0 1 2 3 till 8. That is, it prints 9 numbers and not 1 to 9, not natural numbers. It prints the whole numbers. So you can see the advantage of using a range, that we don't have to write a for loop. In these conditions, small conditions, these may seem like a quite small thing, but whenever we are working on projects or some big projects of our own, we get in handy to these small functions or modules that are provided, so that work is simplified and the amount of statements are drastically reduced. Here we have some other examples. Here we have a for loop with else. So for loop with else is basically like in if and else. We use that if this condition is not stated, then we move to the else block. In the for or else block, the else part is executed if the items in the sequence used in the for loop are exhausted. That is, if there are digits, let me and add some more, 3 4 6 7 8 9. So we have created a list of digits that is 0 to 9, and we have started a for loop which will print from 0 to 9. When the for loop is totally executed, it will go in the else block as it would do for the if part, and will print no items left to print. No items left to print. So when we take a short run on it, we see that it prints from 0 1 and 5 and 3 and all the things that were provided in the list. And as soon as the iteration stops or the for loop reaches its end of life, the else block is executed and it prints no items left to print. So this for loop was just a short thing to study, because it will come a lot of handy to build the basics in Python, and basics are always strong, if basics are always strong, we can reach the heights of potential of mastering a thing. So for foremost, we need to master our basics and get strong with it eventually with time by practicing it over various platforms. Thank you. So hey guys, in this video we'll be seeing about strings, Python strings. Strings are basically among the words that we construct in English and we learn from our childhood. The English basic things that my name is this or my name is that. Those are known as strings in the computer language. Strings are amongst the most popular types in Python. We can create them simply by enclosing characters in quotes. Python treats single quotes the same as double quotes. Creating strings is as simple as assigning a value to a variable. For example, in this we can see that variable 1 is named as hello world with a single quote, or in the variable 2 we see it's named as Python programming with a double quote. Both have the same meaning, but we usually prefer double quotes over single quote. Why? We'll talk about it later. So in this, the next topic we see accessing values in strings, which is Python does not support a character type. These are treated as strings of length 1, thus also considered as substrings. For example, variable 2 is said as Python programming. Now, if we see this Python not including space, this if we extract it simply, we would get a substring. A substring is a string that is derived from a major string. Let's talk about updating strings. Here we see in variable 1 it's shown as hello world, and when we print it as updated string, we take the variable 1 from iteration 0 to 6 plus Python. So 0 to 6, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Up till 5 it will take, and then it prints hello string, hello Python. Let's have some programming examples here. For let's talk about, we talked about double quotes and single quotes. What's the heck about these triple quotes? The three double quotes are basically used if you want to create a multi-line string, such as if we print this a hello everyone, the double quote, and we print a, it prints hello everyone. Now if I wanted to print a different line hello everyone, or we wanted to print everyone, such as how are you, I am fine, and we print and we press run, it would give a EOL while scanning string literal, that is a error that says that the syntax of this is wrong. So if we want to print a multi-line string, we simply add triple double quotes. You see, as we added this, it changed. Now if we print it, it would again give an error, because if this side this is triple double quotes, this side also we need to print triple double quotes. So now as we print it, we get hello, how are you, I'm fine. Notice the lining, the format, or the word shifting, as we would say in English. uh, This basically happened because this marks the starting of the string. Now if we want to print it without any extra space between it, we simply have to shift it to the left margin of the page or the editor which we are using, and when we print, now everything is aligned and looks quite beautiful. Now let's talk about strings as arrays, which is a major topic and the focus of a function. So we take a str string is equals to, not hello, not every time this, uh, we take Spider-Man no way home. Yeah, not the promotion intended, and we print a, sorry, str. Now when we click run, we get Spider-Man no way home. What if I just wanted to print Spider-Man, nothing else in the statement? So for this we give a square bracket margin, and in that square bracket we give 0 to 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. We give a bit 9 because 0 to 8, 0 to 9 would be 9 characters, so 0 to 8 would be 9 characters, and when we hit run, we get Spider-Man as the string that we intended to use for. Needless to say, if you just want to print a basic character or anything, suppose if you want to print the space, you may be thinking it's impossible, right? But it's possible. Suppose this was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You give it a 12 number, the 12th index number, you get nothing. But if you quietly highlight, we get the space we wanted. This is the space that is used between the no and the way words. Similarly, if we wanted to print, as I said, Spider-Man, but without a little shorter thing, then we give just the colon and 9. This basically assumes that we are intending to start it from the 0th index and end at whatever the index before we are giving it. So it automatically finishes it. If we give it as 876, we give it to from 6 to 9, we get printed man. See, it's easy, right? And in the previous and in the for loop statement, as we had talked about or we will be talking about, that in for statement, if we print I in, let's say this time predator, and ask it to print I, this I is a variable and this is the string. So basically it will iterate through each character or the string that we are intended to and print its each character. So let's hit a run, and we get predator as the output that we intended to get. There's also a function called string length, in which we get the length of the function. Sorry. So basically, when we move forward and suppose string is again Helios and print len str So when we hit enter, we get the length of the string, that is 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. It's not 5 because this is not we are printing, this is not we are printing, we are printing the length of the string, not the nth element or the nth index of the string. Now you would be thinking, what's the use if we have string, if we have already a short string? Let me give you. So if I say hello everyone, my name is Khan and I'm not a terrorist, and we print len str. So this gives an invalid syntax error. What's the syntax error? Let me see it. Okay, maybe we left a space and I am. Let me see what's the error. Mm. Okay, so basically what's the error is, it doesn't give the length of a multi-line string. Okay, just understood right now. We didn't give a equals to sign. Foolish of me. So we get the length of the string, otherwise you have to count 1 2 3 4 and so on until eternity. Who wants that? When you're using a high-end laptop and you have to count and not automate things, that's a hell of technology. So basically we need to do and start things up. The next function which we come across is checking strings. That is, if the function that let's have a dry run here instead of getting it compiled. So basically in this, if we have a string and we print free in string, so the in function basically checks the string that we have provided in the list of strings or the mega string that is present. If it is true, then it will print as true because it prints as boolean value. All these checking functions and conditions, if not intended to print any statement that is providing any int or string or any other data type, it will probably shift to a boolean data type. Similarly, we have not in, that is, if the statement or the word is not in this mega string, it will print true, else false. Next, as you can see, we have a list of various string things that we can perform. So we move on to slicing strings. Slicing is basically cutting off strings, or we can extract a substring out of it. Now let me show you a fun thing. Suppose this is hello everyone, right? And not, we just need a double quote and we say it as print str 0 to 5 and give run, so it prints hello. Now let's do a fun thing. This is 0, and as we know in integers, before 0 comes -1 if we not go deep and if we not climb into decimals. So what if I print -1 to 5? Will it give an error or will it run? Let's see. You see, what does it give? It gives nothing. You know why? Because this is -1 and this is 5. It doesn't reiterate and come along a cycle. This is not a chain, this is a simple string. But if I give it as -5 to -1, then what will it print? This is -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. Let's see. It prints as RYON, Ryon. That is, it starts from -5, -4, -3. Just a second. -5, -4, -3, -2. And as soon as it hits -1, it stops, because as we know the rule, it stops just one before this place. So this is also a fun way of slicing things or extracting a substring. Next up, modifying strings. So here we are seeing some functions and some modules, such as if you want this, all of this to be printed in uppercase, we put a str dot uppercase and we print enter. Maybe we had a wrong. Okay. So the functions is upper, and we provide bracket, and when we hit enter, it prints hello everyone in all capital cases. We provide it as lower and hit enter F5, and everything turns into hello everyone in small cases. Similarly, there are many functions such as removing white space, that is a.strip, in which it returns all the white spaces from the end and the beginning, not from in the middle, that is, space between the comma and the word are retained forever in the string. If you want to replace string, replace a single character or a single thing or a single substring from a mega string, such as in this, if we want to replace hello everyone with, let's say, Julia. So, and we print and we run the program, it will print hello Julia. That is, it replaces everyone with the word Julia. Next, we see split string. That is, when if we want to return a list where the text between the specified separator becomes a list item. So if this is hello everyone, I am Arman, and we use the function split with a comma. So split with a comma, you know what it will make out of it? Oh, unmatched bracket. Let's run it again. And as you can see, it printed the whole statement with a square bracket and a bracket and the word we wanted to print it. But in this, as you can see, it doesn't print it like this. So it prints like it, but it doesn't print like it. So let's try copying the code and seeing what's the error that we are facing. A small error, it could be an indentation error or something. I'm not going to deep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify in this statement, and let's see what happens. Okay, so basically in the previous statement I had to place commas between every word which we have to split and make a list out of that word. So now when I print run, you see, unlike the previous one in which we have this one whole string, the whole super string as one item of the list, we have separated it as hello world, I am Arman, every word as a single or a singular list. Now we go on concatenation. So concatenation is basically combining two strings or adding them. So concatenation, unlike other programming languages, needs a function or some for loop to run through it, or a basically in basic or low level languages we need to make a whole new space for the concatenation. In this we can just simply make two strings, and ask it to store it in a plus b, print c. So it prints hello Mary. Just let me give it a space. So it prints hello Mary. And if you don't want to do it, don't want to store it anywhere and use the memory of the RAM, you can simply have printed hello a plus b, that is hello Mary. If you want a space to be printed, you can use this space, always intended to give ease of use to the user. And that's all for concatenation. Let's see format strings. So in formatting strings, we are printing text, that is, we are just simply having a concatenation here of 36 into this string, that is text, and we are printing the text. Now you would notice that the age is in integer form and text is in string form, but it doesn't matter because in results and in printing statements we often do it like this and print first strings and then the integer. So we run it using F5, and what do we get? It can only concatenate it through string, that is, it gives an error. So we use the function format text dot format age. So let me explain it to you. Now if you want to print my name is John, I am 36. So instead of providing an error to the program, we print these curly braces, close the bracket, close the string, and we would type a format and age. So now when we click enter, let's see what does it do. You see, now it perfectly gives us the output, that is, my name is John, I'm 36. And beautifully written the code, because the format word actually did was it adjusted the integer value into the string without causing any further without causing any garbage values or any address problems to be stored of an integer to a string. Similarly, we have more examples here down which you can run through on the website w3schools.com or any basic website that you might find relevant according to your needs and satisfaction levels. Let's move on to escape characters. So in escape characters, let's read the statement. To insert characters that are illegal in a string, we use an escape character. Escape character is a backslash followed by character you want to insert. So let's have an example. Let's take this. Have it here and print the text. So guess what do we get? We are so-called Vikings from the north. That is, we wanted to highlight the Vikings word, but wherein if we had used the first statement that was provided, uh, forcefully adding this curly braces As soon as you can first of all see that this program will give an error, because in modern compilers we have this color coding, and if there is an error it already becomes discolored. So we know it from here. Let's see what is the error time. Is it a runtime, is it a compiler time, or is it something that is garbage related? So we can say it's a syntax error, that is we cannot use it. So we have to use this backslash so as to escape the character or give it. Here are some different escape characters, a list of them, and you can have a look through them. These are string methods, and there are a lot of libraries in Python. I mean, Python was intended and made so that, unlike after you have done with basics of programming with some basic language such as C or C++ or Java, I would recommend first going off to C and then C++, or in school level, in many school levels we start off with Java, and it's perfectly fine. It just adds to the difficulty level and it may benefit you in future. So it after completing all those simple things, Python was made so that large machines could use without memorizing, and urging the need to have a competition among various candidates, or we can say for providing the ease of use of it. Next we have some exercises. If you want to have some exercises, you have the exercise section here. You can always go on w3schools.com, I repeat it again, and have some exercises on it. Thank you. Let's see the next lecture. Hey guys, welcome back, and today we'll be having some brief intro towards arrays. So what are arrays? Arrays are basically a collection of data sets or a collection of data of similar data types so that we can store and easily access it throughout the journey of program or whenever we need it. Arrays are basically a linear data structure, that is they have only one level, or we can say they are having only the same data type, so we don't have to deal with various data types and perform some feasibility over non-linear data structures. They although can be they can be used to store and also to retrieve information about the address of the things, but they can also be used for various functions such as searching of an item, sorting of an item, hashing, and so on. Arrays are basically the most prominent data structure that you would come across, and it is the basic level that is the building block of all the other data structures. So as we can see a visual representation of array, that in memory location, if we are storing UBFDAEC, the index number is stored as accordingly used in string, that is 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 and so on. And this is just an example memory location that is used if we want to see what's the memory of an object. Suppose if we store a number as 66 and we want to print its address, so we give it a and a. Let's see if it works. No, it doesn't work. It works in C++ compiler. This is the code for C++, I just forgot, and it works for C++, wherein it gives the address of the thing that has been stored. So we see here that ARR0, the first element will be accessed. Just like strings, we have created an array of same data types. In strings also we had created the thing. In arrays we have created the same thing, but the only difference is that in arrays we can store a single type of data and at a contiguous memory locations. So contiguous memory location set means that the items of the array are stored accordingly and linked together, so that when we want to access the next data type, it is not scattered around in the whole memory space in the clock. So here are some disadvantages of an array. That is, you can change the size of array once it has been declared. So it is of static memory allocation, and if you want to use dynamic memory allocation, there are many other things such as vectors or other STLs, but in Python we would not need those because we have lists and tuples and dictionaries that are a lot of advanced against it, but we still need to study the basics. So let's have a look at arrays. So here you can see that it looks similar to the Python lists that we would be talking about, or we have talked about in our previous lectures or videos, but we can see it's similar, and the only difference here is, as you talked about, it stores only the same type of data, unlike lists that can store integer, string, boolean, float in a singular list. So what's an array? An array is a special variable which can hold more than one value at a time. So if you want to create a list of items, suppose you want to create it as car 1 BMW, car 2 Ferrari, car 3 Lamborghini, we would similarly make a list of all those things. And if you want to access the items, here would be the name of the array, and here in the box would be the index which we are trying to store. If you want to modify the first item or any item of the array stored in the location, such as in the 0th position, we just need to replace the array. So let me show you. So this is an array that I declared, and I first start typing all the names. And if we want to print the first one, we print it as ARR0. That is, it gives us the first item stored in this array. If we want to print the last one, we give it as ARR2. That is the number of items minus 1. That is the index number. It gives us this name. Now if we go jump on to 5, let's see what does it give us. See, it gives us an index error. That is, the index of this list or this thing is out of context of this way and does not belong to this array. Please check it and try again later. Let's have some other examples, like string. We also have the function for array, that is length of ARR. It gives us 3, that is there are 3 items stored. If we give ARR and print it, let's see what does it do. It gives us the list, that is BMW, Ferrari, Lamborghini. In here we have seen this a couple of times, but this is basically the for statement. That is, we can execute a for statement successfully in an array so that it performs it, and we have a successful code so that every item is iterated through it, and we get similar lines, such as, let me give you a difference for I in ARR, print I. So let me separate it a bit. Printed using for. So before printed using for, we see that it is printed using this print ARR, and after using for, it gives each letter without any commas or any brackets or anything in separate lines. This gives us the value of fact that we have to change our files and the codes according to the needs of the program or the problem set that we are solving. Next we have adding array elements. So basically we knew that arrays are have a fixed memory space, but this is Python. So in this, arrays and list are treated almost equally. So if we wanted to append a list, such as if we wanted to append yes, so if we wanted to append arr dot append and Aston Martin, and then we print the arr as usual. Let's see, what do we get? We get the Aston Martin appended at the last of the string, that is, it directly appends or adds. So we were talking about that arr or array is a fixed memory space, but in Python, as I told you, it is always treated as a list. So it doesn't have a fixed memory space and you can add as many things as possible. We would be having a pop function, that is, if you wanted to remove the first thing or the first item, we print it as 1 and we get the first one and the second one, and the item that was stored on the index number 1 was deleted successfully. You can also see that if you wanted to remove a verb, like if you don't know, if you know the index of the word, you can use the pop function. But if you know the name of the word and not the location or the index of it, we can simply use the function that is provided, that is remove function. So we can type remove and the number, I mean the name of the thing that we have to remove, and we get the same damn thing again. So in this video we learned about arrays, a basic sneak peek on these data structures. We'll be seeing in the next video. Thank you. Lists that have been provided. So according to the statement given on the side tutorial points, we read Python lists as the most basic data structure in Python, and it is also known as the sequence. Each element of a sequence is assigned a number, its position or index, as we would call and we would know from the previous videos. The first index is always 0, as it has been since eternity and will remain till eternity. The second is 1, and so forth. Python has 6 built-in types of sequences, but the most common types are the lists and the tuples, which we would see in this tutorial. There are certain things you can do with all list types. There are certain things you cannot do with all list types. Those are limited to those list types. These include indexing, slicing, adding, multiplying, and checking for membership. We will discuss about membership later, but basically it's about checking if it's valid inside that particular data set of collective datas. So Python lists is the most versatile data type available in Python, which can be written as a list of commands, separated values between square brackets. Important thing about list is that items in a list need not be of same type. Creating a list is as simple as putting different comma-sized values, comma-separated values between square brackets. For example, we have seen that in arrays and arrays and lists, these are almost same type of things in this Python. Lists and arrays are treated almost with a blurred line of difference, and the only difference is that when we occur through large data sets. So let's not talk about arrays, let's focus on lists. So in list, as you can see, if we wanted to store a string and an integer, we can store them both easily. If we wanted to store an integer or an array, we can store all of them. Suppose we want to access values in list. To access values in list, we use this square bracket command, and the command that we use, the index of the number that we want to start with, the colon, and the number before which we have to stop. This is the thing. This is the thing that would lead to a perfect list allocation. Let's have a look on this website. So we have a bunch of things that we would like to study. So in this we can see that lists are ordered, changeable, and allow duplicate values. This line is so much important because when we will be talking about tuples, you would know why it's important to learn the difference between list and tuples. So let's read it again. List items are ordered, changeable, and allow values. List items are indexed, that is, the first item has index 0, the second item has index as 1, and so forth. They are changeable, that is, we can change things. So like this, if you wanted to append or remove things in a list, we could do that easily without any hesitation. So this is list, and we add 1 2 3. Come on, let's add 4, and we just remove Ferrari and print. Oh, we are printing array. We print list, so we get whatever we wanted, that is the whole list. No else, no drama, no confusion. Okay, next we have a similar function length. This goddamn word is used everywhere. It's used in string, it's used in arrays, it's used again in lists, as you can see. Next up we have data types, that is, this is a string data type of list, this is an integer data type of list, and this is a boolean data types of list. But a list, unlike array, can store all the three different types of these datas. So if I just added true or false in it and removing nothing, we get each word from this list, that is, no excuses or any errors that we would get while running, or any syntax errors, unlike C or C++ or any low level language that is used in development purposes. So let's have the data type. So if we just wanted to know if it's array or it's a list, we print type and get a data type of this thing, that is, it prints the class list. So this proves that we are not studying array, but we are studying a type of lists. Next we have a list constructor, that is if we wanted to let me tell you an example. So tuple, so this thing is a tuple as you can see. But if we change list is equals to list of tuple, let me change the name so as to avoid a confusion. So originally this tuple is this thing, this variable tuple is a tuple, and now we are changing or trying to change it as a list. So let's see if we succeed. Yes. So as you can see, this is this changes to the class of list from a tuple. If you wanted to have a double check here, you can print the type of this thing. I accidentally named it as tuple, but let's see. So first it was a tuple, and when it went to this function, it changed into a list. It Now you would be thinking that tuple, if it's in tuple, why would be needing list? There are some advantages and disadvantages, and as we learned that it's changeable, ordered, and we can add or remove items basically. So this is all that why we need things. So here we have the example that I was saying. List is ordered, changeable, and allows duplicate members. Tuple is ordered but unchangeable. So if you wanted to add or remove any of the items in the list or in the given data set, we can always change the tuple to list, and if required we can change it back to tuple if the final program wants the particular data set to be in it to for it to be it in a tuple. Let's see here in the next thing. So as we have talked about this from ages, that accessing items in a list, string, and array are almost basically the same thing. You can use it as 0, or you can use it as minus or minus 1 2, and in this we can clearly see that it's given negative indexing means start from end. So minus 1 is refers to the last item. This is minus 1, this is minus 2, this is minus 3. What if you try to print minus 4? Let's try it out. So here we have this and 4. Let's see what does it print. It gives an index error, that is we have printed something that was out of the range. Like if this was 0 1 2, and if we give a value of 3, this would give the same error as it was for minus 4. That is, in negative indexing we had gone beyond the limit, and in positive indexing again we had gone beyond the limit. So there's a limit for all the accessing indexes. Next we have change items, that is if, like as we saw in the arrays or in the list, that if we wanted to remove, to pop, or pop, remove, append in the particular list, we can use the functions as provided by the Python developer. Here's a brief example that you can see, type it out and test it out, and also have some fun with your code. Having fun with your code is important because you may not learn from your achievements, but you will definitely learn from your mistakes. This is the other example that you would also like to try. In this code, let's have a run of it. So in this code, what we are doing it, instead of removing or appending a single thing, we are taking a range of items, that is 1 and 2, and we know 3 is not accessible, minus 1 is accessible. So 1 and 2, and when we click enter, it prints as apple watermelon. It removes the word cherry because it cannot reiterate the same thing again on the virus, and we can't have the same virus in the sense of our errors. We can't have the same virus or the same item again to be repeated, so it basically uh, ignores it. Next up, we have inserting items. We can use the word insert to have the index number, and then the word we wanted to insert with, so that we can insert a item in the middle of a list. So as you can see, we inserted it, we did not replace the thing, we inserted it. Know the difference. This is adding items in the list, that is, as we saw, we can append using all these things. We can have a function that adds at the end of the statement. Basically, we also have a function insert items, that is, it inserts at the particular location, as we saw in change list items. We also have an extend function. So basically what does it do is, if there are two lists, suppose this list apple, banana, cherry, sorry, and this one tropical one, that is mango, pineapple, papaya. The extend keyword, what it does is, it basically extends the tropical, and this list prints the this list and the tropical both. If we were to replace the thing, so we can say, we can use it as this is equals to this list dot extend, and we print this list, this the final thing we have stored. So and we run, and what do we get here? We get it as none. Why? Is it supposed to only have listen thing? Let's see. Okay, so basically what we are doing is, we can only print the list to which we are extending an original list, or a list that we are providing it with. The last thing we see here in this adding item list is extending it, but it does not append to list. You can add any iteratable object, that is, if this is a list and this is a tuple, do you think it will work? Let's find it out. So we have this dot extend, and we print this thing, and as you can see, it changed this tuple into a list without having the need to convert it using a function. Similarly, like adding, we have various functions for remove, which you can lately discuss or have a look at some previous lectures. So this one is again the same thing that we have been talking about, strings and arrays, that if we want to have a printed different values stored in the list in individual lines. We can use a for loop, take a variable and run through the list that we have been provided with so as to convert the items into words. Next up we have loop through index numbers. Now if you don't want to have every item to go into that printing list, what we can do is we can put it a I in range length of this list. So we learned that range, if promoted to 10, we get the values of 0, 1, 2 till 9. So let's just copy the code and have a dry run before we actually run it. So in this list we have 3 items, that is apple, banana and cherry. It's stated by the index numbers 0, 1 and 2. So this calculates the length of this list, that is it will come out to be 3, and in the range function we get 3. So in range function, if we get as 3 range 3, so the values will be 0, 1, 2. So we have these index number, that is this code or this piece of snippet of code will run peacefully without any errors. So as you can see, we get the values apple, banana and cherry as we were intended to. Using a while loop. So basically using a while loop is just as we had known or we had been using it, but as we were using it in some sort of condition, here we can use it for this list or the list that we have been provided with. So in this, let's copy the code and have a dry run. So this list consists of apple, banana and cherry, again with the index numbers 0, 1 and 2. I basically is an unknown variable that has been evaluated and given a sum of 0. So we run the while loop. I is less than length of this and print this list. I is equal to I plus 1. So in this first we have given the value of I is equals to 0. 0 is less than length of list, that is 3. So 0 less than 3, it's true. We print the value apple. Then we iterate the I as y plus 1. So I is equals to 0 plus 1. So I now becomes 1. Now 1 is less than 2, again is less than 3, so this condition again becomes true and we print it until we reach it as 3. So 3 less than 3, which is false. The whole program ends and we get the answers as apple, banana and cherry. Now we have various functions that we can talk about and it would take a long time. You can basically again go to this page and have a look and have a fun by trying experimenting new things and items. There are various list methods that have been stated here and these are basics. By practicing you would almost remember everything out of it, and there are various things and various exercises and join lists. Stay tuned and let's have a look at the next adventure.